just pass all the fields that you want and their corresponding values. So, in many ways, this is just like our dictionaries. And in fact, the if you see the implementation of examples, you'll see it's basically an inherited and slightly augmented version of dictionary themselves. So, in many ways, example is just like a dictionary. And if you see the output from example, so this will be like example, and this is a dictionary, and then there is you can just call question answer and get their values over here. So it's kind of like pydantic in terms of the usage, but yeah. So in DSPy, you can also define like the input keys in the examples, which will be filling the inputs to the prompt structure that DSPy will create for us. And in order to do that, you can use this with inputs method. So you'll just take this example and say dot with inputs question. And once you do that, you can see that input key becomes question. And over here, it's none right now because we don't have any inputs initialized. And if you say want to define multiple inputs, you can just say example dot with inputs and just pass them as arguments. All the fields that you want as inputs, you can just pass them as arguments. So that will become answer and question now. So the input keys become this. So yeah, let's go and extract some data out of here. Like we have hotpot queue that DSPy provides out of the box. What it basically does is that it extracts hotpot QA from Hugging Face's from the from Hugging Face, and then it converts all the rows that you have into an example format. So if you see over here, you said oh, by the way, hotpot key is just is basically a data set of questions and answers. So once you have extracted hotpot queue over here, we are extracting like a 20 size training set and a 50 size evaluation set. So if you see the training set, it's examples for us, any of them right now. And that's because we create this training set, we iterate on every row or every element of dataset.train, and we just say with inputs question. And the question over here becomes the input key. So if you see again, we have input keys as question now. So see, let's take a very basic example and see how you can answer out of them. So at the very bare minimum, you'll need a signature and a predict module to build the very basic pipeline in DSPy. But what exactly are these modules? So you can think of signature as the most basic form of task description. So what you
Okay,
do in
cool.
a signature
Should
is
be
you
good.
define the inputs, the outputs, and the instruction to it. And there are two ways to define it. First is like inline way, which is sort of like INOPS, if you are familiar with that, and one class-based way. So let's see how you can define a signature with a class-based method. So this is how usually the syntax of a signature class begins. So you'll have the class name, you inherit the DSPy signature class, and you then provide a doc string to it. This doc string is the instruction that will be augmented in the prompt itself. So this is how this is the instruction that answer the questions with short factoid answers, and then you provide it a question and an answer. Both of these are actually fields. So as you can see, like one is an input field, which basically means that this should be the input, and one is an output field, which is meant to be the answer one. So this is one way, and one more elegant way that I usually say is that can be done to define the doc string could be this. This way you can use other utilities with a string-based method without making it unreadable of sorts. Short, vague-ish description of the whole task. Now, for output fields, you can also see this description. So this description usually corresponds to the what this field is all about. Description. Another is something called as a prefix. So prefix is usually the placeholder that in the prompt itself. So if as you can see, we haven't provided any prefix over here. That basically means this will be the placeholder, and you'll see how the prompt looks like. So that would become a much bit more clear. Aside from that, we also have format. which basically means if your say your output field or say input field in the format argument. But not so surprisingly, input field and output field, both of them are defined in exact same manner in DSPy. And so much so, like it won't matter much if you just say input field. If you do this, it won't matter much. So it's mostly for symbolic reasons in the code itself. And yeah, that's how you define a signature. And on its own, signature is not much, but it's the predict model that takes the signature as input and executes it. So
Why is
if you can see
this?
over here, we passed